Dallas, Texas, August 18th, 1899. The relentless Texas sun beat down on my neck like a blacksmith's hammer, turning my shirt into a sweat-drenched rag. I wiped my brow with the back of my hand, squinting at the monstrosity before me. The Blackwood Asylum, as it was once called, loomed like a decaying giant against the dusty afternoon sky. My two companions, Sarah and William, stood beside me, their faces mirroring my own mix of apprehension and morbid curiosity. The rumors about the Blackwood Manor had circulated for years amongst the children of Dallas. Stories of a family mysteriously vanishing overnight, whispers of a shadowed figure roaming the halls, and the chilling legend of a young girl who sang lullabies in the dead of night. "You sure about this, Amelia?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Her normally fiery red hair was subdued, pulled back in a tight braid that did little to hide the worry in her eyes. "We can't back down now, can we?" William chimed in, his bravado a tad forced. He adjusted the spectacles perched on his nose, trying to appear scholarly in the face of our collective fear. Truth be told, none of us were particularly brave. We were just teenagers fueled by a potent mix of boredom and rebellious spirit. The whispers about the Blackwood Asylum had become a dare, a challenge we couldn't resist. The house itself was an architectural nightmare. Once a grand Victorian mansion, it had fallen into ruin after the Blackwood family's disappearance in 1873. The grand porch sagged precariously, its once gleaming white paint now a peeling, grotesque parody of its former glory. Broken windows gaped like empty eyes, offering glimpses of dust-laden rooms and cobweb-draped furniture. Taking a deep breath, I reached for the rusty iron gate that guarded the entrance. It groaned in protest as I pushed it open, sending a flurry of startled crows scattering into the air. We entered the overgrown yard, the silence broken only by the relentless cicadas singing their afternoon song. The front door, once a proud centerpiece, now hung crookedly on its hinges. A faded brass knocker, shaped like a snarling lion, stared back at us with vacant eyes. Ignoring the unsettling feeling in my gut, I reached out and rapped on the door. The sound echoed through the dead house, heavy and ominous. We waited, holding our breath, but there was no response. Exchanging a nervous glance, I pushed the door open. A wave of stale air, thick with the scent of dust and decay, assaulted our senses. The inside was even more desolate than the outside. Cobwebs hung from the intricately carved ceiling like ghostly tapestries. Sunlight streamed through the broken windows, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. The furniture, shrouded in white sheets, resembled looming ghosts. A grand staircase, its carpet threadbare and worn, led to the upper floor. The air hung heavy with an unsettling feeling, like 1,000 unseen eyes watched our every move. Taking a step forward, I felt a loose floorboard groan beneath my foot. Sarah flinched, her grip tightening on my arm. "Maybe we should just take a look around downstairs and leave?" she suggested, her voice barely a whisper. Part of me agreed. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of wind through the broken windows sent shivers down my spine. But the thought of leaving, of admitting defeat before even venturing further, spurred me on. "We can't leave now," I countered, my voice firmer than I felt. "We've come this far, haven't we?" William cleared his throat. "Besides, who knows what kind of treasures might be hidden upstairs?" he said, a hint of excitement in his voice. His comment, meant to lighten the mood, backfired spectacularly. Sarah and I shot him a withering look. "Treasures?" I asked, my voice edged with sarcasm. "The only thing we'll find in this dump is ghosts and tetanus." Undeterred, William marched towards the staircase, his curiosity seemingly outweighing his fear. Sarah and I exchanged another glance, a silent agreement passing between us. With a sigh of resignation, we followed him. The steps creaked ominously beneath our weight, and the shadows seemed to deepen around us as we climbed. Every floorboard groaned like a tortured soul, and every rustle in the wind sounded like a disembodied whisper. Reaching the top landing, we found ourselves facing a long, dark hallway. The air here felt colder, heavier, like a physical manifestation of the oppressive atmosphere. The faint light filtering through the windows at the end of the hall barely penetrated the oppressive atmosphere. The faint light filtering through the windows at the end of the hall barely penetrated the gloom, casting long, skeletal shadows that danced on the dusty walls. "This doesn't feel right," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. Her hand tightened on my arm, her fear a palpable presence. "We can still turn back," I offered, my own voice a mere croak. William, however, seemed unfazed. He marched forward, his footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. "Come on," he urged, his voice barely a whisper. "Let's see what secrets these rooms hold." We followed him, our steps hesitant, our hearts pounding in our chests. Each door we passed seemed to leer at us, its aged paint peeling like cracked skin. The silence was broken only by the creaking floorboards and the occasional rustle from within the darkness. Finally, we reached the end of the hallway. A single door, its paint a faded shade of blue, stood out from the others. An ornate brass keyhole gleamed in the faint light, a silent invitation. "This one?" William declared, pointing at the door. "This has to be it." Without waiting for our response, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a curiously shaped key. It was an old, tarnished key that his grandfather had given him, claiming it belonged to a forgotten place. The key fit perfectly into the lock. With a groan of protest, the door creaked open, revealing a room shrouded in darkness. A faint, sweet smell filled the air, the cloying scent of roses. We hesitated on the threshold, peering into the inky blackness. Sarah gripped my arm tighter, her fear a cold knot in my stomach. "There's something in there," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I shared her trepidation. The air in the room felt thick and heavy, charged with an unseen energy. But curiosity, tinged with a morbid fascination, propelled us forward. William, ever the brave one, or perhaps the most foolish, stepped into the room. Sarah and I followed close behind, our hearts hammering in our chests. As our eyes adjusted to the darkness, we gasped. The room was a nursery, its walls adorned with faded floral wallpaper. A rocking chair sat empty in the corner, its worn fabric swaying gently as if an unseen hand had pushed it. In the center of the room, a crib stood draped in a tattered white sheet. A porcelain doll, its face cracked and its eyes vacant, lay abandoned on the floor. But it was the figure standing by the window that sent a jolt of terror through me. A young girl, no older than 10, stood bathed in the pale moonlight streaming through the window. Her back was to us, her white dress shimmering in the ethereal light. She held a music box in her hands, its melody a haunting lullaby that filled the room. The tune, though beautiful, sent shivers down my spine. It was the same lullaby whispered in the town's legends, the lullaby of the Blackwood girl. Frozen in place, we watched as the girl slowly turned her head. Her face was obscured by the shadows, but a coldness emanated from her, a presence that sent a primal fear coursing through me. Then, in a voice that sent shivers down my spine, she spoke. "Welcome," she said, her voice a chilling whisper. "I've been waiting for you." The music box stopped playing, the silence broken only by our ragged breaths. The air crackled with unseen energy, and the temperature in the room seemed to plummet. Terror threatened to consume me, but a primal instinct for survival kicked in. I grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her back towards the door. William, his bravado shattered, followed close behind. We didn't dare look back. We just ran, our footsteps echoing through the silent house. We burst through the front door and stumbled out onto the porch, the cool night air a welcome relief from the oppressive atmosphere within. We didn't stop running until we were far away from the Blackwood Manor, our lungs burning and our hearts pounding in our chests. We collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath, the horrors we had witnessed replaying themselves in our minds. None of us spoke. We didn't need to. The terror we had experienced bound us together in a silent pact. We would never speak of what we had seen in the nursery, the chilling encounter with the Blackwood girl. But as I lay there staring at the star-dusted sky, a single thought echoed in my mind. Was the girl a ghost, a figment of our imagination, or something far more sinister? and the question lingered, a chilling reminder of our brush with the unknown. We left Dallas shortly after, each of us carrying the weight of that encounter. Years passed, the memory of the Blackwood Manor fading into a hazy nightmare. Then, one day, a letter arrived. It was from William, his once a steady hand reduced to a shaky scrawl. Incd, a faded newspaper clipping lay misled amongst the yellowed paper. The headline screamed, "Local man found dead in abandoned house." The accompanying picture, though blurry, showed the unmistakable silhouette of the Blackwood Manor. Beneath the picture, a single chilling line sent a jolt of terror through me. The victim was found clutching a music box, its haunting melody echoing through the deserted house. William was gone, but the memory of the Blackwood girl remained, a chilling reminder of the secrets that lie hidden within the decaying walls of forgotten places. And I, the only remaining witness, now carried the burden of a truth far more terrifying than any ghost story. The Blackwood girl wasn't a figment of our imagination. She was real, and she was waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to venture into her domain.